Hello, welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the contents in this channel. Today, I would like to talk or put out awareness for a 19-year-old boy whose name is Dylan Rounds. Dylan was last seen uh, in Lucin, Utah. It's near the borders of Nevada. Basically, Dylan Rounds moved to this this isolated desert in Utah because he had a dream and passion in farming, and he wanted to, do his own farming. Since he was a kid, he was really in love with the idea of farming. According to his mother, Candice, we have another Candice. Her name is Candice Cooley. And Dylan's father, his name is Justin Rounds. The family is originally from Idaho. The mother and father still live there, although they're divorced. They've had a messy divorce, allegedly. And on the 28th of May, 2021, 22, Dylan spoke last to his grandmother. He told her that he's going to put his SUV or his van away, his truck, because it was about to rain and he didn't want his seats to get wet. Apparently, he drives his car from the isolated place that he lives in, where he does his farming, and it's a distance away. A good walk away. I think, I'm not sure if it's 5,000 miles, but he walks quite a distance to a place where he shares with his friend, and he usually parks his truck there. The parents did not hear from their son, and grandma was the last person who spoke to Dylan. They all were concerned, so they went over. They called his mobile. It wasn't ringing. They got concerned, and the mother, Candice, said she called his friend JD and asked JD if he's heard anything about Dylan, and JD said he did not hear anything about Dylan. Then they asked, Candice called her other son, that is Dylan, his brother, and he said he hadn't heard anything about Dylan either. The father said he was in Las Vegas. He was driving back from Las Vegas with his daughter and son, that is Dylan's brother and sister. So he said he spoke to him. That day was the last day he spoke to him, and he said that Dylan seemed to be very happy because he was harvesting the seeds in his farm and all that. When Candice, they divorced. Like I said, they've had a messy divorce. Allegedly, I have actually even read it somewhere a couple of days ago, but I can't exactly remember where I found that newspaper or where I've read it in, that the parents did have an extremely messy divorce. I believe the mother, Candice Cooley, did some, is it called investment? Basically, she took some or loads of money from her ex-husband, from his business. And apparently he was allegedly, guys, this is for entertainment purpose only, and actually I don't even really want to say it till I find the clip where I read it from. But I'm one person who tries not to get caught up in drama and all, so I try and keep to my facts. But I promise you, I read it somewhere that the father tried to run over the mother, his ex-wife. And I did check into some records of the searches. They could be right or wrong, but he did get misdemeanor charges for that, and that was in Idaho. So I don't know if this happened when they were in Idaho, because this family have been living, I believe, in other places too. But I will go and research that further. Candice called ex-husband. They went over to where the isolated desert where this young boy Dylan lives, and they said that they noticed that his car was not touched. They noticed there was another red truck in the property, so the green one he must have put away. I don't know what happened to that one. I think the FBI and the police have it. They said what was strange, that although it rained and that there was storm and all, somebody tried to clean up maybe the crime scene, allegedly, because there wasn't any any marks or any tracks of footprints or anything, and that is quite unusual for a place that has rained heavily, that is part of the desert. Although I haven't been to the area he lives in, I do know a bit about the desert, because where I was born in Saudi Arabia, remember as a kid we used to go sometimes to those places and all. And it does, if it rains, it turns very muddy. It leaves a lot of footprints. I remember we used to wear these long, these black abaya, these dresses. In many Muslim countries, they do wear that. And I remember it used to touch, the dress is long, so all the mud and all the sand, wet sand, will come upon our clothes. So I'm even a bit surprised that there wasn't any tracks or any footprints. Candice Cooley said that, and Justin, the father, Justin Rounds, they both said that they found Dylan's pair of boots. He had only one pair of boots. I find that very strange too. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong in that, because people can have one set or 10 pair of shoes, but it's a bit strange, I believe, for me, because I know men are not like women. You don't carry around so many different pairs of shoes and all, but working in a farm, I would have expected Dylan to at least have 2 sets of shoes. One for his daily whereabouts when he goes to visit the city or the gas station, and he should have a pair of boots that he does his farming in. So it doesn't make sense. So the father said the boots were new. It was a year old, and he said there was a drop of blood. But then I did watch in News Nation with the private detective and with law enforcement talking, the guy from law enforcement, the old guy with glasses, and he was saying that we are still not sure that it is a drop of blood, or even if it is blood. It could be a stain, he said, of blood, or it could be a stain of something that dropped on his shoe. Something red. It could be even ketchup, for all we know. And I do agree 100% with him because Candice Cooley, Dylan's mother, said that the law enforcement checked and it was blood. I disagree because I read it in the papers that all those evidence are with the FBI in forensic reports. And like we're aware of, like even in the Summerwells case in Tennessee and Orrin and Austin's case, Cincinnati Classics case, the West Boys in California City and Bakersfield, we're aware of. Law enforcement will not never tell us the results of what they found, if it was blood, if it wasn't blood. They would not tell us because obviously they have to build a case to take it to court. So I don't understand why the mother would be insisting that it's a drop of blood when the forensics results haven't been done. She was quite upset that law enforcement, according to her, took a long time to intervene, and the FBI got involved after 17 days since Dylan Rons has been missing. I find that to be really heartbreaking because no parent has to suffer through that. If they need help from law enforcement, they should be getting that help. It's a 19-year-old boy who's living out in the desert, so any possibilities is possible. To start with, I am still trying to figure out, I've been following this case for the last 3-4 weeks. As soon as actually the alert was put out for missing Dylan, what I found strange is I know everyone has their choice, and parents, obviously, we parents can't force our children to live in a certain manner or in a certain place. And I definitely know that because I have a 24-year-old daughter and she's a teacher. She's not in the UK, to put it this way, she works in another country in Europe. And I've seen her from when she was 17, 18 years old, keeping on changing her mind. There'd be times she'd be like, I want to move to Spain. I don't want to live here. It's so boring. She's been living in Spain for 6-8 months. She had a nice job. She let it go. She came back here. She worked for maybe a year and a half. Then she said, I'm not happy here. I'm going back to the country I was born in, and that is Norway. So she's gone back there. She's been just going up and down, and now she got an excellent job. So she really works and she's doing fine for now till she changes her mind. So what I'm trying to, by that example, I'm trying to explain that we all are aware about that age. It is the tough years of teenagers and early 20s, because if they are decided or fixed on a certain thing, they will do it. And we want our children to live, in a sense, doing what makes them happy. It's their lives. We have lived our lives, and we're still living our lives. We do our mistakes too. So we shouldn't be too harsh on them. But then this case brings a lot of questions for me as a parent, and even in the mental health perspective as a therapist. Dylan is only 19 years old. Even if it was his choice to move to the desert, I wonder why his mother, his father, and his grandparents did not encouraging him enough not to live out in such an isolated place, because obviously you become a target very easily. It's strange that it's the grandmother and the grandfather that bought him the farm. So I don't understand why they did not try to buy him a farm in Idaho or even in Utah, but in a more place that wasn't that isolated, that had neighbors. So that is a bit concerning. I think it's a responsibility for a 19 years old boy to be living there with a tractor and I believe two trucks. That puts him in a position of easily getting robbed or killed. I hate to say that, because the apparently in Lucin and near those areas, or was it Nevada, 20 minutes from where he lives, there are dozens of people who live there that have criminal records. One of them has been arrested by law enforcement. I believe his name is Brennan, his last name. And the FBI said to make it clear that he is not arrested because of Dylan's case, but he just lives not too far from Dylan, but he was arrested for pending charges, I believe, and he's not supposed to be carrying a rifle. So he had weapons and ammunition and all that. So they've arrested him for that and they booked him in. But then it is kind of strange that he didn't live far from Dylan and he knew Dylan. The thing that I find as a red flag or concerning is that the parents bought, or the grandparents bought him a farm there. That is literally putting a 19-year-old child in danger. It's not always about what they want, it's about what is safe for them. The mother, allegedly Candice Cooley, said that she saw this guy who lives not far from Dylan, who was at Dylan's property, and he had blood stains on his clothes and all, but she did not consider him as a suspect. I find that very strange, and so does News Nation and other people. Because she ruled him out because she said, I don't think he has anything to do with it, and he's the one who contacted me. So maybe that made her feel more secure that it is not him. But the way I see it, and I'm sure many of us see it that way, that when everybody should be considered as a person of interest, especially when you see somebody with a bloody shirt or t-shirt who's not far away from where Dylan was lost, I would have immediately called law enforcement and got him arrested until they do forensic tests and forensic reports on his clothes and everything. The crime scene was cleaned up completely, according to the mother and father, and that brings us definitely into doubts and speculations. Dylan Rounds is mobile, last pinned at a place that isn't far from the Pigeon Mountains, that is around his areas. But then it's a very isolated desert place where the phone pinned at. Drones and many searches were done for many days up to now, and there's no result of Dylan Rounds, unfortunately. I'm starting to wonder, there's this certain place that Dylan goes and parks the car, that he shares it with somebody else. I can't remember, it was 5,000 or 500 miles away from his home, but it is a long distance. So when he goes and parks the truck there, he usually walks back to his farm. So I was I'm wondering if somebody was actually waiting for him at the place he parked his car, and maybe something happened there. Maybe they tried to rob him. Maybe Dylan tried to fight it off. Maybe foul play was involved. It is really difficult to say because it's still too early. But I really honestly find it a bit strange that the crime scene was cleaned. And the boots was found, the mother and the father said, in the opposite direction of, like, basically walking towards the wrong direction. So